But he is gone for 6 more days. Caleb, yes? 6 more days. He is spending with a group of people out in the mountains somewhere, Colorado, just basically getting recharged so he can come back here and be an even better leader, father, husband, just a Christian man in general. So pray for him this week and just his family as he's gone. But tonight we have a really exciting guest speaker. I highly doubt you know this person. I didn't meet them until tonight, so I'm really excited to hear you. And I welcome Josh Winrotte.
Yeah! I just want to make a couple mil, leave it to the fam in the will. Oh yeah, I just want to sign a record deal, maybe buy a house up in the hills. Oh yeah, might not be the best of my field.
All right, to start off, if you don't know Josh, this is Josh. Say hi, Josh.
You should know Hi, Josh. Everybody should know Josh. That's disappointing.
Alright, so we're going to ask a couple questions to Josh just to get to know him a little bit better. He has no idea what questions. Also, just so we are aware, I did not come up with these questions. No. Nice try. Alright, so.
The 1937 Chicago Cubs.
Nope, not that either. That's a great team though. Okay, if you were a tree, what kind of tree would you be?
An aspen.
I would have to say, no, I know it's Andy's favorite. I would be an oak tree, because oak trees are big and they don't move real fast.
Great.
Big, don't move real fast.
They don't what?
They don't move real fast.
What?
They don't move real fast.
Struggle with us. I am terrible. I need sleep. Okay. What do you think of garden gnomes?
They're disturbingly, terrifyingly awesome.
They're creepy.
Because they come alive at night and then they sing songs like Romeo and Juliet, that kind of thing.
Romeo and Juliet.
That too.
Okay.
They're
So,
creepy little things.
well, Nate and I have one in our bedroom that sleeps at the end of the bed. You guys have one?
No, that's
I thought all married couples had them.
not this one.
Jamie Bonds, you told me all married couples have a lawn gnome.
That is tough.
Oh, that feels so light.
Yeah, he lied.
They're creepy little
We do a lot of that with amongst each other lying. Alright, you've been given an elephant. You can't give it away or sell it. What would you do with it?
Do not do that.
If I had an elephant and I couldn't give it away or sell it, I would put an advertisement in the newspaper for anybody that wanted somebody else's car stepped on, and I would make a lot of money. Your boy, come on, step on the car, step on the car.
He's going to teach us about Jesus' love tonight as well.
We're going to do it in Jesus' name.
Everything in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Alright, and last one. If you had to be shipwrecked on a desert island, but all your human needs, food and water, are taken care of, what 2 items would you want?
What two items? I would want a Bible.
Church answer.
It's a very church answer. And I think the other thing I would want is a knife. Because with a knife you can make pretty much anything else you would want to do.
I thought you might say your wife and children, but
You said object, you didn't say people.
Hey.
And if I have to, hey, seriously, if I have to count all 12 of Mandy's personalities, I can't bring all of them.
sure, you can only pick 2. Alright, but in all realness, Josh, he's a great guy of God. He's really excited to talk to you. We're going to pray for him before he starts. Maybe.
Hey, Jamie Bonds, you're not tall enough. Brian, can you grab my phone off the back there and bring it? It's up there on the edge of the sound booth, right side, orange case. Then he's 7'7".
Also,
Dad's phone.
I don't know what's happening.
You don't want that.
Alright, let's focus. Guys, serious time right now. I know we just went from funny to serious all of a sudden. We just had permission to share this with you guys, so I've talked to a few of you about it. Seth Carpenter, he was in a baseball game tonight, and he got hurt. He's been dealing with some issues I know of already. They're actually taking him to the emergency room to get an x-ray and see what's going on. So they just asked for us to say a prayer as well. If you're friends with him, be nice and check in on him. He's in a lot of pain right now. So let's go ahead and pray, and we'll get started. Dear Father, just thank you for tonight, Lord, and just a time where we all have really busy lives and we just get to come and stop and just recharge for you and just grow, and just be around other people who love you and want to be more like you. And I just ask tonight, you be with Seth, and just whatever's going on, one, relieve him of his pain right now, Lord, just give him some comfort, and just be with the x-ray technicians, the doctors, ortho, just everyone involved, that they can just figure out what's going on and get it treated. And then I just ask that you be with Josh and just work through him. His heart is yours right now, Lord, and whatever you have planned to come through him, just please allow that and open the kids and the other adults' minds and our hearts. Just open us so we can listen to you. And just thank you for loving us, and just thank you for being true. And just want to pray, amen.
All right, before we get started, I promised Shane that I would take a selfie from up here. So everybody get ready to smile and wave.
Please don't die.
Okay, if I can't see you, I can't see any of you. So you all need to go over here. Real quick, over here. Quick. And I'm going to do a video selfie. So everybody get ready to yell and cheer and say, "We love you, Shane." Okay, I can't see you. Keep going. Keep going. All right. 1, 2, 3. All right. Sarah, thank you for the introduction. I appreciate it. So here's the deal. You look at my big hugeness, my oak tree self that doesn't move very quickly. I'm not exactly what we'd consider spry. I'm not an athlete. I'm not a gymnast. I'm not any of those things. It's hard to believe, but I used to be little. I used to be tiny. I used to be a baby. I was a big baby. I was 9 pounds, but I used to be a baby. Just like every other person in this room, you all used to be babies. And here's the thing, the cycle of life is that everything starts as very, very, very small and becomes very big. In fact, you start out as a single cell that becomes 2, that becomes 4, that becomes 16, and continues to divide and grows until you're born. And you continue to grow, and you continue to grow, and you continue to grow. And see, there's a point where you hit where you stop getting here, and you start getting here.
Yeah.
See? There's somebody to clap. You just remember which side of that hill you're on there sometime. Because the thing is, we all continue to grow throughout our lives, and when you quit growing is the point in which life ends. That's death. And everything has that life cycle. It doesn't matter whether it's a bird, it doesn't matter whether it's a fish, it doesn't matter whether it's a plant, it all starts as something tiny, becomes something great, and then eventually dies. And the time that you have between when you're tiny, when you're big, and then you die is the time you have to work with. For something that's a long time, for some things it's a very short time. We're blessed as humans to get to grow in other ways. We don't just grow physically, because thankfully, I don't know that this is what I want my final form to be. I'm not real happy about it. I gotta get rid of this, gotta get rid of a little of this, a little of that. We've all got those things, right? But the truth of the matter is I'm growing on the inside. And as a Christian, we're called to be growing every day of our lives. Shane has been talking about parables. He's been talking about stories. We're going to talk about stories today. We're going to talk about stories of things that are very, very small and they become very big. Matthew 13, 31 and 32 says, here's another illustration Jesus used. The kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed planted in a field. It is the smallest of all seeds, but it becomes the largest of garden plants and grows into a tree. Birds come and make nests in its branches. So Mamie bought a necklace a few days ago. I think she might even be wearing it today. It's got a mustard seed in it. Hold it up, Mamie, if you can, or you can stand. Okay? It's inside of a little light bulb looking thing. That seed is so small that if you hold it in your hand, it looks like a little speck of dust. And mustard seeds grow into mustard trees. Most of the time, if you think little seed, you think little plant, right? You think big seed, big plant. An acorn's pretty big, right? Grows into an oak tree. Sunflower seed's pretty big. It grows into a tree. Peach pit is pretty big. It grows into a tree. We think that it takes a big package to make something big. And the truth of the matter is it doesn't. It takes something tiny. Here's something crazy though. Do you know there's seeds smaller than the mustard seed? The mustard seed is not the smallest seed. In fact, there's approximately 12 other seed groups that are smaller than the mustard seed. But yet Jesus used that as his illustration. He tells parables because it's something that people could understand. He uses the mustard seed because at that time, in that world, the mustard seed was the smallest known seed. Even in his illustration, Jesus knew to use a story that people would understand. Like I told you, I started out as a little kid. I started out as a baby. Wah, wah, cried a lot. But I was a big, fat kid. I weighed 9.5 pounds when I was born. I looked like a bowling ball, okay? I'm serious, looked dead like a bowling ball. And I was a short kid. When I was in 5th grade, I was the second shortest kid in my class. I didn't start growing until I was a sophomore in high school. In fact, when I went to college, I grew between 2 and 3 more inches. We went to my high school reunion 2 weekends ago. And we walk in, and I'm standing next to a guy that was my best friend. We went everywhere together, every class together until we were in high school. And he stands next to me, and he looks at me and he goes, have you gotten taller? And the truth of the matter is I have. I grew all the way through. And like I told you, once you stop growing this way, you start growing this way. And for me in college, that meant lots and lots of pizza. And I continued to grow and grow and grow. I weighed almost 300 pounds at one point, okay? I was a big old heavy boy. And the thing is, as you grow, you change. And that's not always a positive thing. Okay? The mustard seed is good because it grows into a big tree, but then it does what? It produces fruit. Right? It gives you things. And see, for me, I grew a lot bigger, but I'm not sure that I've given a lot of good fruit. I want to talk to you about 3 different people today. The first one's a guy named Nehemiah. Anybody know who Nehemiah was? If you're a Fight Club guy, don't cheat. Nehemiah had the most important job that seemed like absolutely nothing. How many of you guys would like to see if a king dies? Anybody want to be the one to find out if a king's going to die? What would happen is Nehemiah was a cupbearer. He would take a drink out of the king's cup before the king drank out of it himself. You know why? To see if it was poisoned. Nehemiah's only job was to take a drink out of a cup and see if he was going to die. And if he died, the king didn't drink. Doesn't take a college education for that one, does it? Doesn't take being real special or real important. It just takes a little bit. It takes somebody to see you and go, hey, I want you to do this job. When I was 14, I went to Rainbow Christian Camp, which is now the Ark. Any of you guys ever been to the Ark before? Any of you guys know a guy named Bruce Cameron? Bruce Cameron is insane. Categorically, completely insane. Bruce Cameron is the first person to ever pull a gun on me. I deserved it, just so you all know. But literally, I've had Bruce pull a gun on me. Bruce tells these amazing stories of times when we were kids where we would sit on either side of the lake at camp and we would shoot bottle rockets at each other. Dead serious. Full big bottle rockets. Hold them, point them at each other. We were idiots. We were dumb. We were not very smart. He was the adult and he was just as dumb as the rest of us. It was fantastic. But here's the thing. I didn't know anything at that point. I was a kid. I knew who God was. I knew that I believed a little bit, but I hadn't grown. I was still the same little 8-year-old that could recite you every Old Testament Bible story, but didn't know a thing about the New Testament, didn't know a thing about the good news, didn't have any idea how to tell somebody else who Jesus was. And all it took was a little bit of water on the seed of what I had. When Bruce looked at me and goes, Josh, why don't you think about doing ministry? Why don't you think about serving the kingdom? Bruce didn't say that to everybody. Bruce doesn't hardly say that to anybody. You can ask Bruce now. You can go to him and say, how many kids do you ask if they're going to go into ministry? And that number is not very high. Bruce saw something in me. He saw a little tiny seed of something. He said, I'm going to put a little water on this. We're going to see if we can make it grow. And see, that's where Nehemiah was at. Nehemiah was just nothing. He was a cupbearer who knew God was. And his brother came to him and said, the walls of Jerusalem have fallen. Somebody needs to rebuild the walls. And that little spark, when then Nehemiah grew bigger and bigger, and he answered the call. Now here's the thing. Sometimes we fight the call. Hard. And I did. I went to church on Sundays. I said I knew who God was. I did all those kind of things. But the truth of the matter is I didn't live like that. I didn't journal in my Bible. Barely opened my Bible. Half the time I didn't know where it was. Not that any Sullivan kids would do that. Well, come on, that was funny. Thank you.
You're trying to not make fun.
But seriously, I didn't know where my Bible was. I wasn't reading it. I wasn't listening. I wasn't watering the seed myself. I wasn't growing at all. I was trying to run away as far as I could. In fact, I was making choices that were actively against that knowledge that I had, that seed that other people had watered that had begun to grow. And I actively started choosing to run away from God. I took what I call my Jonah years, where I said I believed and acted like I believed in front of the right people, but the rest of the time I lived my life like I didn't. And see, God is good about using other people and using other people's stories. You guys ever heard of Rahab? Rahab was a woman of the night. Or in true terms, Rahab was a prostitute. Rahab was the baddest of the bad. She made her money doing things that we hope nobody ever chooses to do. But she knew who God was. And God used her. She protected the spies that came to see and inspect what was going on in the city that she lived in. She answered the call when it was time to listen. She did what she was supposed to do because she had that message in her heart. And see, eventually you get to the point where you answer the call. And that's part of growing. When the sunlight comes down on that seed and that little bit of water, it splits open and it begins to grow. It gets bigger, it starts to change. And see, for me, the same thing happened. I went to Butler University for a year. I went home for a year. Trust me, going home to live at your parents' house sucks. When you go to college, finish college. When you're 30, don't go home and live in your basement. Not a good thing. And then I ended up at Johnson Bible College. And I went to Johnson Bible College because I wanted to play basketball. I went to Johnson Bible College because it was 7 hours away from my parents. I went to Johnson Bible College because it was not in Indiana, and it was not near anybody else I knew, and I knew that I could go and act like an idiot and be an idiot, and I could just stay that little tiny shell inside of myself and let the outside be something different. But along the way, God put people in my path that were sunshine to go with the water that had already been put there. Guys like Dave Eagland and Dave Legg. People like my wife. People that I worked with at church that I played basketball with. Guys like Ralph Noble. People that looked at me and said, there's a seed in that kid. Let me see if I can help make it grow. Now, here's the thing about a mustard plant. It goes from little tiny seed to little tiny sprout. And if you step on that little tiny sprout, or if you don't water it enough, or you don't give it sunshine, it's going to die. But for me, that didn't happen. People continue to water. People continue to do what they need to do. So I've asked 3 friends who are going to be kind to me, I hope. Where are my tennis ball friends? Stand up for me, tennis ball friends. We're going to see who has... I'm going to die. We're going to see who is talented and who is strong, and I don't want to die. So Ashlyn is going to go first. We're going to see how talented Ashlyn is. Ashlyn is going to throw the ball at me as hard as she would desire to. And she's going to see if she can hit me in the forehead. Okay? So whenever you're ready, Ashlyn. I will not move. Go ahead.
You're not going to hurt him. Wow.
That was not the greatest throw. Catherine, you may go next. You don't want to hurt me? You couldn't hurt me if you wanted to. You're too small and weak. You even throw like a girl. Right here, baby. Come on, right here. Right in the forehead. Come on.
Give it the ball.
Well, that didn't help. All right. Isabel, you are the smallest person here. Other than maybe Savannah, but I couldn't find her when I wanted her. Free shot, right here, right in the forehead. Let's go.
What? Go up to wow.
Come on. Right here. Right in the forehead. Let's go.
On the stage.
Here's the deal. Here's the deal. Yes, I know a lot of you would like to volunteer for that. It's not easy, right? It's not easy. You got a tennis ball here with no pressure, okay? The last guy I want to talk to you about is David. And see, David's special because God gave David power. David was tiny, and he went up against a giant. He went up against somebody that was 9 feet tall, big, scary, monstrous. Came out every day and screamed and yelled at the Israelites to give me your best! Over and over and over again. And David's a little 14-year-old shepherd boy. But see, David had something that was already making him a tree. He had a faith where he truly believed. He had a faith that he had already started to grow into. Yeah, he'd physically killed a lion, he'd fought and wrestled a bear, he had done those things, but that didn't make him great. That didn't turn him into the oak that he became. All that simply did was give him the physical power to carry out what God called for him to do. See, God told him to go get 5 little stones. So he got 1, 2, 3, 4. See, he didn't even need those. The truth was, he only needed 1. Because what killed Goliath that day wasn't a 14-year-old boy. What killed Goliath that day wasn't a tiny little stone. What killed Goliath that day was faith and a God that wants every single person to grow to be the oak tree that he's called them to be. I'm standing in front of you today because people told me to become the oak I was called to be. I'm standing here today because somebody said you don't have to be the biggest, the strongest, the fastest, or anything else. All you have to do is have enough faith to say, I'm going to pick up the stone and follow what I've been told. There's times in our lives where we're small, whether that's by things that we do or the way that other people make us feel. There's times when we feel like we have no power, like we have nothing we can do to be successful. There are times when we feel like the world has beaten us down to all we are as a little baby laying on the ground saying, God, why? But the truth of the matter is, we're all growing into what we've been called to be. Nehemiah answered the call, even though all he was a guy that took a drink of something to make sure somebody didn't die. Rahab was a prostitute who listened to the call and did what she was supposed to do. David was a guy that went and picked up 5 tiny little stones and started his path to becoming an oak tree. So here's your choice this week. You pick up the stone and start your path to being big like God's called. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for today. We thank you for the chance to be in your word. We thank you for the chance to learn and grow together, Lord. Bless the conversations that are coming. Lord, it doesn't matter how small we feel in our heart, we are warriors because we follow your path. You have called us to be greater. You give us the water we need. You give us the sunshine we need. You give us the others we need. Let us answer that call. Let us grow into who we're supposed to be. In your name I pray. Amen. If you know where you're supposed to